Welcome to another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks powered by Shopline in association with ICBC and MJ BizCon. I'm Mary Jane Gibson, and I'm here with Arthur D. Cordova, who is the CEO and co-founder of Zeal, which I've just learned means target in German.
Yes, Mary Jane.
I'm so excited to learn more about this. Microbial control solutions for the cannabis and food industries.
Correct.
So tell me everything. Tell me where you come from.
The roots of our company lie in food pasteurization. So nuts and seeds and chia and sesame. So with that starting point, we have installations all around the world in Australia. Unbeknownst to most people, Australia is the second largest producer of almonds. California is 80% of the market, so we're in those markets. But we're also in Chile, Mexico, Bolivia, where the heart of the chia and the sesame seed markets are. So that's the food business. And that was the roots of the company. And that started about, well, now coming up about 20 years ago. And then the segue into the cannabis business was at a food show in the Central Valley of California, where we were approached by a young man, very, very, very thin. And he said, you know, I've tried all these other technologies, UV, ozone, hydrogen peroxide, X-ray, but I came across your radio frequency, and I believe it's a really good product for my crop. What is your crop? Well, I am the operations manager of the world's largest outdoor cannabis farm in Pueblo, Colorado. And in 2015, 40 acres was a big deal. It was the largest at the time. It was actually featured on 60 Minutes. So Los Sueños Farms was our original customer. And I and a partner acquired this company. It was under a different name then. And we let the food business go to the side. It was a very easy equation because the 700 almond farmers in California had taken 50 years to get to $2 billion. It took the state of Colorado about 2 years to get to $2 billion and more states going. Again, this is early days. This is for the boom in Canada. So we went that direction. We went all in, and we built purpose-built machines just for cannabis with our OEM in Italy that's been making radio frequency machines for 50 years. So there's no technology risk. It was proven in the food industry, and now we are just applying it to a higher value product, cannabis. And there was incredible demand.
So a radio frequency machine for cannabis.
Yes.
What does that look like?
So it looks a little bit same principle as this phone right here, which is a radio frequency device. You may not think of it as such, but there's certain frequencies allowed for commercial radio frequency. Ours is 27.12 megahertz for the FCC. So the way radio frequency works, it needs moisture. Without moisture, it will not function. It does something very clever. It harnesses the existing moisture in a cannabis flower, and when you place that flower in the cavity of our machine, there's an anode electrode. Think of it as a very large tray like in your cafeteria. It's a little bit larger than that. There's one on top and one below, an anode electrode. So anything that is in that field, radio wave field, is going to be affected.
Yeah.
Thank you. Affected. It's been a long day already. It is Vegas after all.
MJ BizCon. Here we are.
Yes. The synapses are slowing down. And so you may recall that first experiment or first science class when the teacher put a paperclip on the table and he then put a magnet and they pushed it close to the paperclip. The paperclip kind of moved like a little bit that way, and then he moved the magnet and went that way. Same thing's happening with all those water molecules. They're trying to align themselves between the field, and a water molecule has a polarity of a positive and negative, and it can't do it. It's kind of frustrating, just like that paperclip. But that paperclip, that water molecule in the cannabis flower, and hundreds of thousands of water molecules are all gyrating simultaneously at 27 million times a second. So that gyration creates friction. Friction creates thermal heat. And then this thermal heat that kills the pathogens through protein degeneration.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is such an interesting
Clever.
description. It is really clever. I can just sort of envision looking at it at a microscopic level and seeing all of those the water molecules vibrating
Yeah.
and then leading to that thermal disintegration. And when you say pathogen, you mean any pathogen that could be found
So-
in that bud? Or
Without getting too wonky,
yeah, I love wonky.
as you know, you do wonky well.
Yeah, love wonky. I love geeky. I love all of this nerding out.
So at the end of the day, our solution solves a problem that every cultivator needs to address and address it at scale in volume. So our customers are your largest multi-country operator, multiple multi-state operators, large SSO, single state operators, who is doing volume. So our customers are cultivators, and we sell them the equipment and we give them the training, the tools to address this. By and large, if a cultivators need to meet regulatory compliance in their respective markets. So I'll just take the state of Illinois. So they're basically three buckets that every cultivator needs to meet: pesticides, heavy metals, and microbials. The first two are easy. There's a list of do's and don'ts.
Don't use pesticides.
Don't do this, don't do that.
Don't put this in your nutrients.
Right. What cultivators have a hard time wrestling, and it'll slip away every time, is microbials.
And when you're talking about, can you name a couple of microbials for us?
So the testing is their subcategories: total yeast and mold count, TYMC; total aerobic microbial count, TAMC; biotolerant gram-negative, BTGN. Then some states have coliforms. Then you have Aspergillus, E. coli, Salmonella. Those are the subcategories. Probably the most pesky of them all that keeps cultivators up at night, mold, total yeast and mold count, TYMC. And that's really where this technology excels at. We get our highest reduction in that subcategory of microbials.
I bet those growers are so excited when you show them what your technology can do.
And it's an interesting journey how growers are evolving. Back in 2015, no one had a mold issue. Wink, wink. The guy across the street has a mold issue, but I don't. And then it became, I have a mold issue, I need help. So
because of lab testing and requirements and
exposure.
regulations, right?
But the journey really got, cultivators got better at what they do. I mean, they're very large cultivators in your native Canada that had been using gamma or E-beam for years to address this issue, which is an ionizing radiation. But they got better at what they're doing. So more and more of their product met the regulatory compliance without this kill step or get out of jail free card. And frankly, a lot of the operators, and they're fabulous operators up in Canada, they're focusing on growing their business. And so with ionizing radiation, it kind of solved everything. But it was expensive. So as they got better, improved their upstream processes, or processes, as you say in Canada.
Yes. A good call out.
They needed less and less of this decontamination. But by and large, you can just take it that if cultivators did nothing, and there are all sorts of things that affect microbials, could be seasonality. It could be the moisture in the air. If it's an outdoor grow versus an indoor grow, the HVAC system. So a lot of things moving around here. So that's why it's really hard to wrestle it to the ground once and for all. It's always coming at you in a different direction. But if they did nothing, generally the industry would fail 15 to 20% of its harvest. So if you're growing, 1,000 kilos a month, and you're going to lose 150 kilos at X price, that comes right off the top line revenue. So what are your choices? And I'll just use round numbers here. Let's say, I think all Canadian producers would love to see 1,000 Canadian a kilo again, but let's just use 1,000 this example. They can sell their flour wholesale for 1,000 Canadian a kilo. And now they're going to lose 150 kilos. That's $150,000 hit. So what are their options? Destroy it? No one's going to do that. Oh, you can send it over to your manufacturing and make a distillate or something like that. Not as high value. The distillate guys don't pay 1,000 Canadian for a kilo of flour. They pay 100 Canadian for a kilo of trim that was left on the floor to make distillate isolates like.
Right. They're not buying top shelf bud to make that distillate.
Right. So they'll say, yeah, I'll buy your flour, but I'm going to give you 100. So they're taking a 900 Canadian hit per kilo. Economically, not good. So what do? They put in a decontamination solution as part of their SOPs. Think of it like milk. Most people pasteurize their milk. You can play roulette, but most people accept, I want a kill step in my food supply chain to protect my health.
Yes.
And there's a real discussion going on right now between the consumer and the cultivator. The consumer's opinion has been, if you have to use a decontamination solution, whatever you choose, it must be you are growing poorly, or it must be inferior product. I don't want you to do it. So there's been a bias. Most operators are not going to publicize that they have a kill step because of that consumer perception. That is now changing. As consumers get more educated, they want to know that their product is safe. So they're calling for it. If you look at the European model, or EU GMP model, and we're very active throughout Europe, that the decontamination step is built into the SOPs of the EU GMP validation process. They don't selectively go, this time we're going to use it, this time we're not, or if we fail that, it's all in, and this is the way we're going to do it, and they're married to that, and it doesn't change. And the Europeans, incidentally, have a different approach than the North Americans. Here we do testing reactively for each lot or batch.
Yeah.
Great business for the labs. In Europe, by doing the front-end work of getting your SOPs GMP validated and proving that I can get repeatable, predictable, dependable results each time, they can demonstrate that up front. They don't have to do all that lab testing and all those added costs that the North American growers have. So putting a decontamination system into your SOPs up front makes economic sense. It's good for the consumer. It's good for the cultivator. It increases his yield, increases his top line revenue, doesn't have risks of product recalls. It's a no-brainer.
It's a strong message. Do you feel like that message that you're, preaching, for lack of a better term, is being well received right now? What is the response from cultivators? Are they
Again, it's a journey. So I'd say 10 years ago when we started in this, you had a lot of legacy growers.
Not interested
and want it to be pure. These are my children. My children are perfect. What do you mean they have mold on them? and then they grow up a little bit, and then there's a change of management at the top, if they survive. And the CFO of a large company says, what do you mean you're losing 15%? I just gave you $30 million to put in a greenhouse, and what do you mean you're losing 15%, to this? Fix that.
Call Zeal.
Kind of.
Essentially.
Yeah. So the ones who kind of end up calling the day is once financial adults got in the room,
mm-hmm.
and people who really understood compliance and business risks and standardization of processes, and moved away from maybe a more craft mentality as the industry got more professional, they've moved to milk.
Well, yeah, right. And you're saying that this is not mutually exclusive with the craft mentality. It should be built in to be a part of it. Just like, German brewers aren't anti-craft beer.
I mean, a craft grower, to make a superior product, they will, but can they economically survive losing 15% of their product?
Not necessarily. I'm so interested to learn about this.
It's a very niche-y part of the business, overlooked for years. In the high growth, people were interested in putting up walls, lights, getting things going, and but this problem is not going away. It will always be here. Growers are getting better at their upstream processes, lowering the limits, making our job easier, but not eradicating the problem. The problem still needs a solution.
Where can people learn more about this solution online or out in the real world?
There are many options for them. Obviously, promoting Zeal on our website, zeal.com. We've got a large repository of information. We've got a pretty deep bench of and we have other options here. But pretty much, we're probably number 2 in the United States. We're number 1 in Europe. And the reason for that is that Germany, which is the dominant market in Europe, of which Canada is the largest exporter, followed by Portugal to Germany and Australia. The Germans have a bias against the ionizing radiation. That's the gamma, E-beam, or X-ray, and they make it not impossible. They make it difficult with added regulatory burdens. Registering the strains, it costs 5,000 euros a strain. Takes 9 to 12 months to get it registered, and so the wholesalers don't want the burden of that. They just want product that hasn't been treated with X-ray. Similarly, there is a consumer bias against product that's been X-rayed. And so the prescribing doctors, patients are telling the pharmacists, I don't want products that have been treated with X-ray. And so the wholesalers, who sell to the pharmacies, they're hearing it from the bottom up, and then the German government is pushing it down. So that has been, a very strong growth factor for Zeal. So, we've been operating in Canada, for over 10 years, but Canada's largest exporter, primarily used gamma, is now incorporating the non-ionizing solution because they want to address the market requirements of that large market in Europe.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Very much under the radar.
Yeah. Under the radar, no
part of the business,
Yeah.
people don't consider.
Right. But
a very important one from a safety point of view.
Yeah. And if you know kind of situation.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you. I look forward to learning more about this technology that I've never heard about before out in the real world, and enjoying some of that fine Canadian flower when I go home.
Well, I'll be in Canada in middle of January, skiing in British Columbia.
Oh, okay, good. Having a good. I was like, Canada in the middle of January. Skiing in BC sounds good.
Yeah, backcountry skiing.
Nice.
BC. It's fabulous. Love being in Canada.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Me too. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning into another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks, powered by Shopline in association with ICBC and MJ BizCon. Please hit like and subscribe to our podcast and follow us at Canna Tech Today. Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks.